Welcome back to the Construction Show. We are filming another episode from WEFTEC. We have XL Fluid Group on the show. We've got Curt Wyman. He is the president at XL Fluid Group. Curt, welcome to the show. Good to have you on.
It's great to be on. It's great to be at WEFTEC. There's always electricity in this atmosphere. Exhibiting brings a special dimension, and it's great to see so much traffic, so much interest. It's just an industry that's alive right now. Jared, it's great to see.
I keep hearing feedback. I'm obviously filming from our studio in Vancouver, but I'm hearing from everybody, including off camera, because sometimes people come on camera and they want to hype it up, and of course, but off camera, I'm hearing it's actually quite a busy show. Is it comparable to other years?
Busy show. Yeah, I would call it similar to other years. Sometimes Chicago can be a little more foot traffic, a little more hectic, but I feel like this year has a lot of kind of intensity. People are here to get something done more than just entertain themselves and spend time. We got a lot of people stopping by the booth saying, hey, thanks a lot. I learned something today. And I love hearing that versus, that's interesting. So we're getting, I've learned something, and it tells me people are here to learn, advance their careers, advance themselves as whatever their respective discipline is. And I like that versus just, I got a week off work, I'm at a show. It's not that here. It's great.
Yeah, I heard someone just said on the last episode, and I'm wondering if it pertains to what you're doing as well. This, I think it's the Inflation Reduction Act that passed in 2022. I might have my years wrong. That's affecting their business in a positive way. People are reaching out in that. Do you notice anything spin-off from that because things like infrastructure are getting developed and things like that? Does that bleed over into your business a bit? I'm just wondering if, because you're talking about that sort of people coming, with sort of a different mode now. Is it because there is money being spent on some of these projects?
I think that's probably a factor. I think what's happening, though, is there was this chronic repetition of pricing increases and supply chain shortage. And I think some people we're talking to are saying, we remember when we were saying things like, I don't care how much I got to pay. I need this. I need that. Those days have kind of waned off, and now I've talked to a couple of exhibitors here selling raw material that are saying, our raw material, our source material has stabilized and in some cases actually dropped a little bit in price. I think it's just given the market kind of a general optimism that stuff is going to happen. Stuff is going to go ahead.
I don't know where you were at in 2008. I remember I was in the construction world. So this was a time when there was two of everything on the shelf. You just walked into a store, your supplies, I was in the home exterior business. Your supplies were just there. People just stocked stuff like crazy. That just went away, never really came back. People still don't really stock stuff now. So then that bleeds through into the supply chain issue. So now people didn't stock stuff. All of a sudden you have this supply chain and it just ground. I mean, I had people in my family, they were waiting, I don't know how long to get a truck. These are people that live on a ranch. Like, it's a real issue and they couldn't get a truck.
Happened. Definitely happened.
So you've seen that shift now come as a lot of this stuff. You're saying a lot of it's kind of coming back in and people are able to sort of make decisions properly again.
I think so. And I think there's some latent or pent up energy to get projects moving. So, budgets were tight. Uncertainty existed. Yeah. Even if you had budget money, you were restricted in a number of different ways to get things done. Then by the time things came to fruition, you were stuck with a pricing problem because it had increased. I think people are seeing all that kind of stabilize, flatten out. And guess what? We have infrastructure that needs help. We've got infrastructure that needs rebuilt. And now we have projects that can actually happen according to a budget that was set maybe a year ago, and now it still works for the customer. And that's a great thing. I think it's given people that, again, cautious but real optimism that they can move something they need to get done down the field.
Let's talk about our heavy industry tour brought to you by Orica Digital Solutions, leading drill and blast into a new era with next-gen Shot Plus. With market-leading design tools and predictive modeling capabilities, next-gen Shot Plus equips drill and blast professionals to effectively improve blast designs and achieve optimal outcomes. Click below to learn more about next-gen Shot Plus. We are heading to events across North America and Australia and filming episodes on location. Email us at info@crownsman.com to be part of Crownsman's Heavy Industry Tour. As heavy machinery specialists for construction, SMS Equipment knows performance, like the performance they achieve together in a partnership dedicated to the success of their construction customers. At SMS Equipment, they're more than machines from trusted brands. They're the people beside you today and every day, bringing industry-leading technology and expertise to your job site. Because the right partnership makes everything possible. SMS Equipment, partners in your possibilities. Discover what's possible at smsequipment.com. Are you facing the challenges of CO2 shortages in your construction projects? Secure your CO2 supply today with Tomco Systems, the pioneers in CO2 equipment solutions. With over 45 years of experience, Tomco transforms challenges into solutions, offering a comprehensive range of CO2 products for water treatment, storage, and transportation. Tomco Systems' patented CO2-based water treatment and wastewater treatment solutions have gained global recognition for their efficient and precise pH control systems. Whether you need pH reduction for municipal process treatment or industrial wastewater, their line of carbonic acid storage and feed products will provide you with 95% or greater efficiency in reaching your target pH. Don't let shortages slow you down. Visit tomcosystems.com to learn more.
I'm going to get into the nitty gritty of what you actually do, but I want to just ask one more question on this from a president perspective of the company. How do you, when you're seeing market shift like that, I've lost a business not knowing how to make the shift. How do you approach it when you see things like the supply chain or the projects all slow down? Now something that used to take 2 months to get approved takes a year and a half. You know, these types of issues. How do you sort of adjust your own leadership in these types of environment? You've been CEO, I think, or you've been president for how long?
Well, there's a multiple parts to this answer. The business has been in existence since 1991. I first got involved in 2014 and got into the sales effort. And then it wasn't until 2020 that I took the title as president, gained majority shares of the business. And thankfully, we've seen an accelerated growth trajectory. And that's due to a whole number of things. But back to your question of how do you manage a situation like we're in? And I think it's a perfect question at the perfect place at the perfect time, because WEFTEC is where relationships are strengthened if they already exist, or they're born if they don't. And that's the answer. Everybody wants to be agile. Everybody wants to be expanding. They want to be diversifying. They want to find new territory, new roads. But you've got to set the groundwork for that when the times are tough. And that's what Excel Fluid Group has tried to do, is set the groundwork for growth ahead of time. And then as budgets open up, as projects finally get released, and as relationships that existed but were strengthened over time, including right now at WEFTEC, they blossom into fruit that actually turns into projects going into the field, new innovation being embraced, cost savings measures being explored, durability, quality, longevity, all those things that people want. Now they can make it happen. So it's about setting up the company to be ready for it, because it's cyclic. It's going to happen. Infrastructure in the United States, Canada, and beyond is always going to be a requirement for every lifestyle in every type of market.
Yeah, it is. It's a great insight, because it is just a matter of time. I remember there's a gentleman, we actually started out in business like this company I have now, around the same time, and his mentor never turned down a meeting. It might be booked 3 months out because this guy was wildly successful, but he always was planting those seeds with people.
Yep.
And I don't know how many people over the years, it's like 3 years later from the time we met them, but we just had a little chat, and then all of a sudden there's an opportunity, but you hone that to be ready. And it's a very important thing. And also for your company, for your team, to know that approach is there, because a municipality might not be doing anything for 6 years, and then they get approved for some huge budget and it all starts happening, right?
And you're absolutely right. And a lot of projects in this space do take time, or have taken time. We're getting projects coming out of the file cabinets of engineers from 10 years ago. And They don't know why they were parked for that long. There's, of course, a number of reasons, but it's refreshing for them to pull that out and say, hey, what's happened between now and then? Glad we're still here together. I'm still engineering. You're still doing pump stations. Let's make something happen here. And we're seeing that happen right here in 2024. And I think that's going to continue here into 2025.
Did you know cementitious binders can be responsible for up to 70% of the total GHG footprint of mine backfilling processes? Now you can replace up to 50% of the binder in your mine backfill operations with Graybond, Graymont's new low-carbon cementitious binder. This lime-based alternative binder maintains a 40 to 70% lower GHG footprint compared to typical cement and can adapt to varying mine conditions without compromising performance. Learn more about Graybond at graybond.com. When it comes to balancing the growing demand on your grid with the growing need for more responsible, sustainable energy production and generation, you need the right partner. A partner who delivers long-standing grid expertise from a team dedicated to your unique needs, and one who supports that team with innovations designed for the future needs of your grid, while being rooted in proven electrification excellence. ABB is that partner, offering solutions that meet technical requirements, regulatory compliance, and recognize the need for sustainability in your business operations, as well as in the lives of the surrounding communities. Solutions that expertly blend physical services and solutions with next-level digitization. Solutions that enable safer, smarter, more sustainable operations. ABB is the name to trust to help modernize your grid. Learn more at abb.com/ca. Join us in the depths of the mining world, where global leaders and industry giants converge to shape the future of mining. From groundbreaking technologies, advanced machinery, revolutionary safety measures, to sustainable initiatives. This is the voice of mining. This is Mining Now. Showcase your company to millions worldwide. Book your episode now. Visit crownsman.com.
Yeah, I do think so as well. Okay, let's break down. Let's just go through some of your service offerings and the setups. And if you can, just sort of like the high, the bird's eye view, but then kind of zero in on some specifics as well. Maybe let's start with your HDPE wet wells.
Yeah, so you'll see behind me, there's a cutaway version of an HDPE wet well. High-density polyethylene has been in the market in water and wastewater for a long time. The innovation with HDPE that you see here behind me is the use of it in the wet well, which has historically or conventionally been concrete.
So where does HDPE, where does it really shine in comparison to its counterpart being concrete?
Yeah, it's an important question because it's an innovation in the market that's relatively young. HDPE, high-density polyethylene, has been in the wastewater and the water conveyance market for a long time. It's not a new product by definition, but the use of it in a wet well is innovative. Now, to your point on value, it's a threefold value proposition that HDPE brings to the table when it comes to constructing a wet well. It's a monolithic structure. So you have a one-piece wet well from top to bottom with a counter buoyancy or anti-flotation base at the bottom to hold it in the ground. But that is a one-piece structure. It's 1/10 the weight of concrete. So rather than the conventional method of stacking rings together of concrete and sealing those joints, coating the interior, now you have one-piece monolithic structure that's leak-free and sets in the ground in a single piece. And the second value proposition it brings to the table is resistance to corrosion. So where hydrogen sulfide is corroding concrete wet wells, as it has for a long time, and reducing their usable life and creating a maintenance headache, HDPE is inert to corrosion from hydrogen sulfide. So it doesn't matter whether you've got hydrogen sulfide in your wet well, it won't eat the HDPE. And if you're in poor soil conditions where there may be acidic soil or something outside the wet well, it's also inert to corrosion from the outside because it's the same material. So HDPE is resistant to corrosion. It's a monolithic structure. But then the third benefit is that when you have a single piece structure like the HDPE wet well, we're able to completely fit it out with plumbing, the base elbows for the submersible pumps, the guide rails. We can put the inverts wherever they need to be or the penetrations in the structure. So by the time it arrives to a job site, it's all done. And it can set into that excavation and be backfilled just with standard backfill. And the contractor has a pump station in what would have otherwise been days or even weeks. So
wow,
it has quality benefits, it's got installation benefits, and it's got flexibility benefits where if another penetration needs to be added in the future, you can cut a new penetration into HDPE, no problem, in the field. By comparison, you can close a penetration if you no longer need it. Plug it, seal it, weld it, and you don't have to use it anymore. So it's versatile, It's durable, and it has a very, very long service life, 100-year design life for HDPE.
Do you know approximately how much of the business for the HDPE is new build versus replacement?
Well, a lot of engineers are seeing that if they design HDPE in a difficult application, it's going to give the maximum durability to the customer. But to your point, we are seeing a lot of replacement work go the HDPE route, because typically it will come as a result of a breakdown of concrete or a leaking issue or some new infrastructure. They'll know they're going to have the problem because they've had it at another location. So they'll just go down the HDPE road right out of the gate. So yeah, we're seeing a combination of both. It's a great alternative. It's a great solution for both new and retrofit work. What's the majority? Couldn't tell you. It's split.
Yeah, it's that infrastructure, that 100 years versus 40, that it seems like for the planning stages on new projects, that would just be a huge value to look at when you're, in these developments, anything new that's going in.
It's a game changer because infrastructure is going to be around for a long time. You rarely temporarily install a pump station. We've done it, but it's typically permanent infrastructure. But it's the 40-year versus 100-year, but then it's also the elimination of maintenance in the meantime. So you may have a difficult application. And you don't want to send your guys into confined space entry into the wet well to do maintenance. If you have to, you have to, but it's worth it for not only the 40 versus 100, but it's worth it for every year in between.
It's crazy doing this show because I have these conversations about every segment of heavy industry, how much it's changed and these new products that are coming on. Like it's crazy. And my brain after about the 10th episode, it's like it's going into overload because it's so much stuff that's saving. It's actually incredible. Like we think if you're looking at let's say a mainstream media story, innovation might be a Tesla car.
Yeah.
But in heavy industry, it's just the innovation is absolutely insane what's happening. I want to jump into the next one. Your NoVault pump station enclosure. Can you tell us a little bit more about that system?
The NoVault pump station enclosure from XL is being exhibited here at WEFTEC this year. We have 3 sizes, what we call the NV, NoVault 2, NV3, and NV4. At its core, it eliminates the need for a separate below-grade valve vault, hence the term NoVault. So you have your wet well, you don't need a separate valve vault because the above-ground NoVault enclosure is above the wet well and houses your pipe header and valves. On the other side of that same enclosure, separate to the pipe header and valves, is the electrical controls. And the gull wing design means there's doors on either side of the NoVault that open, and they'll give you shelter and light over your electrical controls if you need to get in there and work on them, or go around
in these pictures.
Or go around to the other side and work on your piping and valves. So it's compact, it's safe, and it's very simple to install and then maintain in the future.
So I just want to clarify. So what was the other way of doing it? Would have your piping controls and your electrical in 2 different areas? So I know it's very layman setup, but
you're right.
Is that
Yeah, you're 100% right. So the alternate option is to have a separate below-grade valve vault for your pipe header and valves. And when you need to service them, you need to enter that valve vault, which is confined space, and you need to work on them, whatever that might be, exercising the valves or doing maintenance. But then if that's the case, to your point, you've got to have a separate rack where your electrical controls are. And they're out in the elements, in weatherproof enclosures on a rack, which is sticking out of the ground and isn't aesthetically pleasing for one, but for 2, it's vulnerable to whatever might come along. Hopefully not a vehicle or anything, but again, it's just sticking out on a rack. And when folks need to come and maintain it, service it, check it, maybe change some settings, it's just out there as an electrical control enclosure out in the elements.
So you put that all together. Now, what percentage? I've been asking this question. Water is becoming this fascinating world to me because so much of it is a reactive industry as opposed to a proactive, because there's so much infrastructure already in place, which is not something I really realized. Even last year doing WEFTEC, I didn't sort of clue into that. So if you went out, I've asked this question multiple times in this sort of water handling series that we've done, but if you went to 1,000 sites, would 999 of them be the legacy system where those setups with the electrical setups and the piping were in a different location?
Not that many, no. There's multiple ways to eliminate the below grade valve vault, and there's other systems that do that and do it well. We like the benefits of the NoVault enclosure because of its structural aluminum housing, which gives it very long service life. And again, when Excel's involved in a pump station, we're typically talking to the owner and the engineer about service life. We want to do a premium product at the best price possible, but we also want to give it a long service life. So that structural aluminum enclosure sets it apart, but others do it. So back to your question, you're going to probably see, 70% maybe the conventional way or the traditional way, and that's going to depend a little bit on geography. And we all know necessity is the mother of invention, so as maintenance workers get a little bit tired of climbing down in valve vaults, or they have a bad experience, or they recognize it's not being done safely or not being done at all, then they start looking at this above ground option, which is just so much more convenient.
What applications would this go into? Like there's municipalities, of course, but could you just kind of walk us through where you'll actually see these?
Yeah, so municipalities is the primary destination for most of Excel pump stations. And large or small pump stations are part of municipal infrastructure just about always. But you're going to see private development where maybe a mall is going to go in, or we've worked with some of the large distribution centers. We've also worked with data centers where they're responsible to take care of their own groundwater. It could be stormwater or runoff. It also could be sanitary, where they're putting in infrastructure that the municipality requires them to install and maintain a pump station and send their waste into town, and then it'll get treated. But it's owned and maintained by that private developer or that, by that industrial client. So you'll see that we'll do a lot of that. And there again, many times they want quality. They don't want to maintain this thing. They're in business to have a data center or to do distribution. They're not in business to maintain a pump station. So they care about ease of maintenance and durability.
Right. So what's your go-to-market then? Are you dealing directly with the clients, or is it through a distribution network, partnerships? How has it all come to the actual being put into service?
Yeah, so XL Fluid Group has a national footprint here in the United States and Canada. We've exported to 4 other countries. But primarily our focus is here in the United States and Canada. And we have representatives throughout the country that find projects, but our target audience is the engineering space. We would like to talk to engineers about getting a system designed according to their needs. Many of our clients are becoming contractors who find an application where the XL system is beneficial to everyone. They can install it quicker. They can provide a package submittal to an engineer in one group. They can save space. They can eliminate confined space entry, and they can de-risk the pump station project from sourcing through all different vendors to one-stop shopping. So contractors are driving a lot of our business right now, whether that's directly with XL or whether that's indirectly through engineers, once again, to say, hey, let's look at this. It could be a better end result for the client, and it could be a better journey to get there.
I wanted to ask too about your pumps and your controls and that. Is that like a separate, like I was looking on, it almost looks like it's branded a XL Pump Warehouse. Is it same company, obviously, but
Yep.
What is the setup? Are you also selling just parts and pumps directly to users?
Yes, we are. Back in 1991, that's where we started. We were a pump distributor.
Okay.
That kind of takes us all the way back to our roots. And over time, we've gained quite a few pump manufactured lines that we represent and stock and sell. But the XL pump station is versatile. It's in that way. You can put any brand of pump in it that you want. And that also makes it attractive to both engineers and municipalities and users, private developers, because they're not narrowed to one brand of pump. Given the choice, we've got the ability to recommend multiple options that we might see as the best efficiency or the best price point, best fit to the specifics of the application. And we can make those recommendations. But at the end of the day, XL Fluid Group can work with any pump manufacturer for the pump station.
Something I'm curious about. how much has even the engineering process, the bidding process, the communication, how much has that evolved over the years? I'm thinking especially with municipalities, that pressure to go green, lower carbon emissions, things like infrastructure that lasts 100 years. We did a very interesting episode about concrete. People think of concrete as this sort of strong thing that over time breaks down, but I think it reaches its maximum strength after only 28 days. And then after that, it's slowly getting weaker. I did not know that before I bought a apartment on the 10th floor of a building. But anyway, that's a side thing. But infrastructure, concrete is by its very nature basically deteriorating. How has the engineering, sort of even the community, changed their approach when having these discussions about the next investment that a municipality is going to make?
So there's a number of drivers behind change in the engineering space and in how pump stations are designed. Let's be honest. There's plenty of engineers who've designed pump stations the conventional way for 30 years. They work, they make customers happy, and they're not particularly apt to change that basic design parameter they have. And That's okay. That exists out there. It always will. The space, in some respects, is slow changing in that regard. But what's happening is engineers are continually, they seem to have a continually increasing appetite to evolve. What's out there that I should know about? And I think it's coming from three different directions. Number one, engineers are prone to learning, and that's why the United States is the great country that it is. That's why infrastructure, albeit imperfect, is better than many countries globally. But then the second thing is they don't want to get left behind. There's a lot of great young engineers that have been given a great education and they want to apply it. They don't want to just do the same things that have always been done. They want to learn and evolve and innovate. And I think that's a powerful force right now in the market is engineers that are just, they don't want to be yesterday's engineer. They want to be tomorrow's engineer. And that's a great result of some of the education that's gone into making these young individuals into great professionals. And then I think the third prong is funding sources. The government has put in place stipulations whereby things need to be innovated in order to gain access to certain funding. So there's incentives around improvements in those spaces, and that's driving change and it's driving innovation, and that's great to see too.
Where do you see, like in your applications, like with the HDPE, where does it work? Where does it not work? Like if you're talking to someone and you realize, okay, yeah, this is a good fit. Or are there cases where you go, no, this is just isn't the right setup for what you need?
Yeah. So the short version of the answer is that the HDPE pump station, it can be used anywhere. There's not an application that it's not qualified.
Right.
Yeah. But what we'll find is some customers will say, look, I could live with a lower cost, a budget, an economical pump station. It's only going to see occasional use. It's only going to see occasional stormwater, something like that. In which case we'll say it's probably not worth you investing in a premium pump station for a light duty application. But
right.
We'd always like to think that you may be surprised. Maybe that occasional use turns into more frequent use, and then maybe applications get more challenging as development occurs. So it's always a good idea to put money into infrastructure where you can afford it to get a premium product that'll last you a long time.
Are there any projects that stand out for you that just sort of, you think about that product, you go, this is sort of the perfect example of where we fit in to a design?
There's a project that we did in Michigan, and it was a difficult excavation site. So opening the excavation to do the infrastructure work was a challenge right out of the gate. But then once the pump station was installed, it was going to be seeing very acidic material from a landfill that wasn't getting pumped out to the general waste stream. It had to be pumped into trucks and then taken to special treatment. But it had to be collected at the site. And then in parallel with that, the conditions where the pump station was going to get installed, it had bad groundwater. So there was bad things happening to this pump station from every direction. It also had to act as somewhat of a storage vessel. And if you store wastewater and it goes septic or it gases off with hydrogen sulfide, you'll get corrosion in your wet well. So it was the perfect storm of bad things happening to a pump station. And the XL pump station had to have all stainless interior components to resist that corrosion, but the wet well was the shining star. It could get installed quickly in difficult site conditions. It was resistant to corrosion from the inside and from the out. The contractor was able to mobilize, do his work quickly, make his connections, come online quickly. It could act as a storage vessel. They had double containment sensing to ensure there was never any leaking because the product that was coming into it was pretty nasty. And it was able to pump out effectively into trucks and take care of that disposal issue. So while it had been nothing but a pain in the neck for this landfill for a long time, the HDPE pump station solved everything with a single application, a single installation, and completely solved that problem.
That sort of leads me to another thing then. It must be in environments like in industrial applications that where you have in harsh environments that you must really shine in those types of places.
Harsh environments are our friend. We want to know when a customer calls us and says, hey, I'm kind of intrigued by this HDPE pump station. Let me tell you about my project and let's figure out if it might be a fit. We immediately go to, what are you worried about? What problems are you going to face? What challenges are you trying to solve with this pump station? And it could be anything from clogging, corrosion. It could be space at the site. It could be ease of maintenance. It could be the fact that it's an RV park that gets used for 6 months of the year and then sits dormant for 6 months of the year. What's the problem? And then we'll design the packaged pump station to solve that problem.
You've got another thing on your website I saw, and I just kind of wanted to ask you about it, is I think it's Vandalia, Ohio?
Yep.
Do I have that right?
Yep.
There's a project. Can you tell me about this? Kind of an interesting one. Can you tell me about that project?
Yeah, interesting project. Great customer, by the way. What they need to do in Vandalia is they want to ensure that this pump station is going to last them a long time and is going to be easy to work on. So there's a couple of features that we incorporated into our design, and some of those are the HDPE wet well, which we've talked about the benefits of, the polymer concrete flat top, which we put on top. It's a precast. It's stronger than concrete because it's reinforced with fiberglass. Being that it's polymer, it's got increased resistance to any corrosion, and it's very strong. So we cast our hatch into it. They got the polymer concrete flat top, and then they put our NoVault enclosure on top. That gave them a zero confined space entry for both electrical controls and for the piping and valves. And it gave them a complete package that engineering could review and approve. And Vandalia has done multiple pump stations now with XL, and they keep proving the benefit of the ease of installation, but then the ease of maintenance so that their crew can get in and get whatever needs to be done. And that's what we find in the market is you can teach maintenance personnel to do the maintenance, but if you don't make it easy for them, they're going to procrastinate, and invariably the station won't get the maintenance it deserves.
That you should just put that. No truer words were ever spoken on the show. Is the maintenance. We've done a lot of like sensor and like heavy industrial applications, and just like on the conveyor systems, the hard to reach places, of course, they get serviced the least.
Yep.
Because historically now there's been some great headway. We had RBC bearings. That's right. They've just done some amazing work with just even be able to change stuff out in that. And you can see just the huge gains in just the maintenance, eliminating the maintenance so that you don't have all these failures. Before I let you go, though, Curt, I want to just ask, just sort of on the professional side, circling back to your role as a president. People, starting their career, they're kind of trying to work their way up. Where do you think your success has been that sort of allowed you to become, a president of a company? That's a big accomplishment in a career. A lot of people start out with a lot of goals, and it sort of goes away. You've actually accomplished it. What sort of traits? Not just traits that you have naturally, but where have you sort of developed your skill set to be able to manage that type of responsibility?
Jared, I think the germ of success for any individual that's seeking to grow or maybe outstrip the average growth rate that exists out there comes down to a simple demonstration of discretionary effort. You're going to do 10 million things in life that nobody says thank you for. It's going to happen. But invariably, those individuals who are putting discretionary effort in sometimes with no chance of compensation or reward, it comes around. It will get noticed one day. And it might not get noticed till a long time later, in some cases, never. But when discretionary effort is put into anything, it's rewarded. I'm very, very blessed to have it on my own team where guys are just pumping in that discretionary effort, and they're doing it for the benefit of the greater good. It's just someday good things will happen as a result. I'll go above and beyond. I'll go the extra mile. I'll push a little bit harder. I'll stay a little bit longer. I'll have an additional conversation. I'll send that additional email. I'll discover that additional piece of information that will service the client. Nobody's telling them to do it. They're doing it because they want to. And that's what makes a difference. If you find it in your heart to actually want to put in discretionary effort, you will be successful. Somewhere you will be successful.
When did that click in for you? Was that a teenager thing? Was that in your 25 and you realize you got to buckle down? Where did that sort of become a clear thing to you?
Well, I've had wonderful examples that have encouraged me along the way to direct energies away from things that are a waste of time or maybe worse, and try and do something profitable with them. So I can't really take any of the credit, but I think it clicked for me early on when I was finishing high school, and I realized that there's a path that could be loosely labeled success for all of us, and it's a good life. It's a good outcome. But if we're going to accelerate it, nobody else is going to do it for me. And that kind of struck me coming out of high school, finishing school. Nobody else is going to get good grades for me. I had to do it. And then coming out at the end of school, if you're going to learn fast, you're going to have to learn faster. And that means discretionary effort. That means you're going to have to dig another shovel full of dirt when you're getting near the bottom. And that started right out of high school, and I think it continued into business. And what it's done is it's attracted me to talent that does the same. And so I'm pleased that talent is, has come into the business, and I continue to see it operate every day.
With that, then, does that make it easier? Some people with that sort of motivation, they can almost, they're clawing ahead, and it can sort of, people go like, well, you do it. You'll go that extra mile. So guess what? I'm going to let you go that extra mile. How do you manage getting your team, or is it just about finding, this is something I've been exploring a lot, and I find it quite interesting, is leaders not so much bringing out the best in people, which is obviously important, but finding the right people to begin with, the people that they don't need all this motivation. They just need you to give them the reins, and then you're sort of almost trying to keep up with them. Is that a conscious method? How do you sort of manage that, sort of the making sure people are excelling while you're sort of doing what you need to do?
It's an important question, because at the end of the day, I think a lot of times we do need just to let go and let professionals blossom and turn into something special. You have to have, in my opinion, this singular mindset. Everybody can do something better than I can. It doesn't take long to find in some people. They seem to be able to do a lot of things really well. Other people, sometimes it feels like they don't do anything all that well. But when you keep looking, you'll find everybody does something a little bit or a lot better than I do it. And if you believe that, you'll continually try and get them to, look, I could do this, but I wonder if this is something you could do even better. I can't do it better than you today. I know, but I'll bet you could do it better than me someday. And if I believe it, they'll begin to believe it about themselves. Right.
Again, I'll just last question. Is that something you developed? Because you're very clear on it. Is it something you developed, or is that something that you understood quite early on when you got leadership roles?
It was given to me at a very young age. I was given that opportunity to see what I could do, see if I could do it better, and I couldn't. But I learned to. And what it taught me was, if I was always going to stay satisfied with someone else just doing it better than me, then I would never actually become whatever the potential was. And now I see that with people all around me today. When I believe that they could do it better than I can, they eventually do.
Well, no, it's a very good answer. My team, whether I believed it or not, they're so much better than me, it wouldn't really matter in the production side. But no, it is something to watch a team, that just, you feel them leaving you behind in certain areas. Like you still have your job, but you watch and you go, oh, like I now can't, like maybe a year ago I was sort of on par, but now you're just excelling and excelling. It's quite exciting. Unless you really need the control, then it's a horrible feeling. I've seen people respond to that. I've seen people actually retract their company because they just can't. They start letting it go, and people just start flying.
Yep.
You know, and I had I was doing an interview on a show that we produced for someone else, and they said that you have to be okay with, I forget the quote exactly, but basically you have to be okay with a job being done 80%.
Yep.
Because if you go, oh no, I could have done it this way. But could have you done 10 of those jobs? You have to let people kind of get to that remaining 20%, and let people go through that process. And that's just sometimes self-control. That's all that is.
It's what it is. It's what it is. And nobody likes a control freak, right? I mean, maybe they are incredible, but give me a shot at it, and then give me a little coaching, give me some feedback, and don't fail to notice if I am picking up my game a little bit. I wouldn't mind to know that too. And it's refreshing to see. It's fun to watch. And I think what we've proven in business, haven't we, is that an owner can drive his business to X. I'll say $10 million in revenue, and it varies by all kinds of things. But if you're going to advance past that, you're going to have to become a team-driven business. If you want to grow your business to 20 to 30 million, you're going to have a team doing it. And then if you're going to grow your business past that, you're going to have a culture-driven business. It's going to have to be that discretionary effort culture within. And then that will expand beyond management teams and beyond shareholders right into everybody that can make a difference. And that's where businesses really grow, expand, and become market leaders.
I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're at an event trying to, meet people but I think that one thing you just did there is so important that I think people don't do enough is you actually put a number on it. And I think that is the right number. There is a point where your skill and your leadership can make the business. It actually can. I've seen people do it. They just drive so hard, they can literally pull the ship forward. But then it just stops. And I think 10 million probably is the right number. You just can't anymore. There's just too many moving parts. And then it starts to be counterintuitive. You actually start to reverse the success of the business.
You become the constraint. Yep.
Yep, you become the constraint. Exactly. Curt, I could sit here and keep peppering you, but I do know that you're not here to have a full leadership discussion. Thank you so much. I really hope we do it again. It was lots of fun having you on the show. There's so much more we could talk about, but thank you, and enjoy the rest of the WEFTEC.
Thanks, Jared. Appreciate your time and the crew behind you making everything happen. We'll look forward to talking to you next time.
And thank you, everybody, for watching. We're going to put a link to XL Fluid Group. We'll have a link to their website, their LinkedIn. If you want to connect with Curt directly, we'll put a link to his LinkedIn as well. Also, make sure to follow us. I keep meaning to say that at the beginning episodes, and I just forget every time. But make sure to subscribe to our channel as well. We love the support and suggest guests. If you go onto our channel, you'll see pretty much across the board of heavy industry we've had on. But there is, for every company we have on, there's 1,000 companies we could have. So please let us know if you have any suggested guests. We appreciate it. And we will see you on the next episode of The Construction Show.